Hey there everyone, Ramesh here. In this video I want to show you how to deploy Spring Boot application on AWS using AWS Elastic Beanstalk service. So deploying Spring Boot application using AWS Elastic Beanstalk service is very simple, guys. So as usual in this video I want to show you step by step how to deploy Spring Boot application on AWS using Elastic Beanstalk service. Alright, consider we have AWS cloud here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create a Spring Boot application and we'll package it as a jar file and we deploy on AWS cloud using Elastic Beanstalk service. And this jar file or Spring Boot application will accessible online to all the users. Okay, so far we have created Spring Boot applications and deploy locally, right? But in this video I'm going to show you how to deploy Spring Boot application as a jar file on AWS cloud, which will accessible to all the users across the internet. Let's take a look into AWS Elastic Beanstalk service. So Elastic Beanstalk service will provide all the resources on AWS that required to run our applications. For example, Elastic Beanstalk service will create EC2 instance behind the scene, and it will install Java or Tomcat based on the application or the platform we chosen, and it will store a jar file or war file that we upload in Elastic Beanstalk on S3 server. And there is one more component or one more service, AWS Elastic Load Balancer. So this will redirect our application on particular port. All right. So if we don't use Elastic Beanstalk service, then we need to do manually all the stuff. Like we need to first create EC2 instance, and on top of EC2 instance we need to install Java or Tomcat. All right, and we need to create a bucket in S3 service to store the jar or war file, and we need to configure AWS Elastic Load Balancer, etc. So if we don't use Elastic Beanstalk service, then we need to manually do all these steps. Okay, but Elastic Beanstalk service will provide all these resources to run our application on AWS cloud. Okay, I hope we understood how the Elastic Beanstalk service works. And as usual, let's take a look into the development process. First we're gonna create Spring Boot application, and then we build a simple REST API in order to test our Spring Boot application on AWS, and then we'll package our Spring Boot application as a jar file using Maven, and then we'll create a new application in Elastic Beanstalk, and then we'll upload our jar file in Elastic Beanstalk, and Elastic Beanstalk will provide all the resources to run our Java application on AWS cloud. We don't need to create EC2 instance or bucket in S3 server, or we don't need to configure anything over there. So Elastic Beanstalk will take care of everything. As a developer, we need to only upload a jar or war file in Elastic Beanstalk environment. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and let's create a Spring Boot application and build a simple REST API. All right, I'm in Eclipse STS ID. Let's go ahead and let's create Spring Boot project. So go to the file, new, and then choose Spring Starter project. So look at here, Spring Initializer is integrated in Spring Tool Suite ID. So let's go ahead and let's use Spring Initializer to quickly create a Spring Boot project. Let's give a name to the project like Spring Boot AWS example, something like this, and choose type as a Maven, packaging as a jar, Java version 8, language Java. So you can also choose packaging as a var, but Spring Boot application comes with default Tomcat server, so we don't have to use a Tomcat server on AWS. Spring Boot has already a default Tomcat server, so we can bundle Spring Boot application as jar packaging. Okay, and then we use group id as net.java guides, and then artifact id is same as a project name. Okay, so once you are happy with the details, click next, and we're gonna create a very simple REST API. So let's go ahead and let's choose Spring Web Starter dependency, and let's keep Spring Boot version as it is, which is stable and latest release of Spring Boot as of now. Go ahead and click next and hit finish. Perfect. Now we have created Spring Boot application in Eclipse STS ID. Now what we'll do, we'll create a simple REST API. So for that, let's go ahead and let's create a class, and let's name it as welcome controller, something like this. Okay, and let's annotate this class with @REST controller annotation, and let's go ahead and let's create a method. Let's say public. To keep it simple, I am just going to return a string as a response to the REST API. Let's give method name is welcome, and just return deploying Spring Boot REST API application on AWS using Elastic Beanstalk, something like this. Alright, and let's add @get mapping annotation on top of this method, and let's give our REST endpoint URL like welcome, something like this. Alright guys, so we have created a very simple REST API. Let's go ahead and let's run the Spring Boot project. So we can also change the port. So by default the Tomcat server port is 8080, but in AWS Elastic Beanstalk will use 5000 port to redirect our application on that particular port. So you can also change the port here in application.properties file, but let me show you how to change a port on AWS itself. Okay, so for that I don't have to configure any port here. I will show you when we will deploy our Spring Boot application on Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so look at here, our Spring Boot application is up and running on 8080. Now let's go to the browser and let's test the REST API. So in the browser just type localhost 8080/welcome. Yeah, here we go, our REST API is perfectly working fine. Now it's time to package our Spring Boot application as a jar file using Maven. Okay, let me stop the server, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just right click run as Maven build, and just specify the goals like clean, install, and skip test, apply and run. So this will create a jar file under target folder. Let's wait a couple of seconds to complete the build. Oops, the build is failed, so we need to configure the JDK. Let me quickly do that. Right click, build path, and then configure build path, and go to the libraries. Look at here, we need to configure the JDK. Let me edit and let me configure the JDK from my system. Edit it, and alternative GRE and install GRE, add next directory, and let me choose in C drive. Go to the program files and search for Java, and then JDK 1.8. okay, and then finish, and then choose JDK here, apply and close, and from the drop down select JDK 1.8, finish, apply and close. So very simple, right? Right click and again run the application as Maven build. Perfect, the build is success, and right click and just refresh it, and go to the target folder, and you can see here Spring Boot AWS example .jar. Okay, so this is the jar file that we are going to upload on AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so this, look at here, 0.0.1 snapshot. So if you want to remove this, then what we need to do is we need to give a name to the build. For example, go to the form.xml, and inside form.xml, here we need to configure the name. We need to give a name to the build. For example, here is the final name tag. So here we can specify the build or the jar name. For example, Spring Boot AWS example. Okay, now what I will do, I will run the Maven build again. Right click, run as Maven build. So look at here, build is success, and go ahead and refresh. So look at here, Spring Boot AWS example.jar. Okay, this is the name that we have provided in form.xml right here. Now we have perfectly created Spring Boot AWS example jar file. Now I'm gonna deploy this jar file on AWS. Okay, great. Now head over to the browser, and in a new tab just type aws.amazon.com, and before signing you should complete the sign up process. So we're gonna use free AWS developer account for deployment. Okay, so go ahead and click on complete sign up, and it will ask you details like username, password, and then your address, and then it will ask the payment details. You need to provide your credit card or debit card details. So once you complete the process, then you are good to sign into AWS console. Okay, great. So let me just tell you one thing, like you need to use free AWS developer account. So go ahead and just type the URL awsamazon.com/free. So here you will get all the details about free AWS developer tier. Okay, so before creating a AWS account, just have a look into this free tier account. Okay, so it will basically 12 months free, and here you can see 750 hours per month. It's available like EC2 instance, and 5 GB Amazon S3 is available. Okay, and Amazon RDS 750 hours available. So these are different services which are available absolutely free for 12 months. Okay, so I highly suggest you guys to check out this URL and just go through this 12 months free AWS developer account. Okay, before completing the sign up. So once you will complete the sign up, then go ahead and log into AWS console. So I have already created an account, so let me quickly log into the console. So it's a root user, just type the root user email address, and then it will ask for password. Okay, so once you sign in successfully, you can able to see all the AWS services. Okay, for example, look at here, AWS services. You can see all the compute, machine learning, containers, storage, database services. Or there are around 100 plus services available on AWS. You can choose as per your requirement. So we're gonna choose Elastic Beanstalk here under compute category. So go ahead and click on Elastic Beanstalk, and look at here. Once you navigate to AWS Elastic Beanstalk page, here you have a button, create application. So let's go ahead and let's click on create application button, and here you need to provide application information. So let's go ahead and let's give a name to the application as Spring Boot, alright, AWS example. So you can give same name as the jar file name, and this is application tags, so you can use this section to create tags to group and filter your resources. So here let's provide a platform. So we're going to use a Java here. So notice here we are not using Tomcat because we have a package of our Spring Boot application as a jar file, and which will have a default Tomcat server, right? So we need to have external Tomcat server, and we are going to run our jar file. For that we're going to choose Java as a platform, and then here choose a platform branch as Java 8, and then keep this recommended option as a platform version, and here go ahead and choose upload your code because we are going to upload our jar file, and here keep version label the default name as it is, and go ahead and click on choose file, and go to the your application in a file system, and go to the target folder, and go ahead and choose Spring Boot AWS example file successfully uploaded. Okay, so this is the application code tags. You can also provide tags to group and filter your resources. So this is a configure more options. Here you can configure the database security, all the stuff. This is a very simple application that we are going to deploy. So let's don't take a look into this one. We'll take it in next upcoming videos. So go ahead and click on create application. So guys, this will create an environment, complete environment for deploying our Spring Boot application. So look at here, creating Spring Boot AWS example -env. So this is the environment name. By default Spring AWS will create, and here you can see the log statements. All right, so if you can see here, create environment is starting. So this is a log statement, and you can see here all the steps that Elastic Beanstalk is performing. For example, so this is the bucket name that Elastic Beanstalk has created in Amazon S3 storage for storing the jar file. Okay, let me quickly show you the bucket in AWS S3 server. So go to the services here, and this is the storage category. Under storage category we have S3 server. Right click and open in a new tab. Okay, and the name of the bucket is Elastic Beanstalk, and this is the number 762. So look at here, 762. So this is the bucket Elastic Beanstalk will automatically created for us to store the jar file. Okay, we no need to create the bucket, and we no need to manually upload. So Elastic Beanstalk will do these things for us. So as I mentioned at the beginning, like Elastic Beanstalk will configure all the resources that are required to run our applications. Okay, great. So let's take a look into the log statement. Here, look at here, it has created targeted group, security group, and so look at here, waiting for EC2 instance to launch. So Elastic Beanstalk also created EC2 instance, and let's take a look into it. Go ahead and click on services, and in a compute category, right click and open EC2 instances page in a new tab. Okay, and go to the instances page, and so look at here, let me see the instance ID here. So instance ID is 2840. Okay, so look at here, Elastic Beanstalk behind the scene created EC2 instance to deploy our application. Okay, and guys, it's very simple. So we no need to create EC2 instance or bucket in S3, or we no need to configure any load balancer things. Elastic Beanstalk will automatically do all the stuff for us. Okay, I hope we understood how the Elastic Beanstalk works. This will take a couple of minutes to create the environment and deploy our application successfully. Alright, so look at here, the health is gray. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Okay, so this is the URL, guys. Just click on it and you can able to see here 502 bad gateway. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, Elastic Beanstalk uses 5000 port to redirect our application. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here in a configure section, and this is the software, and here we can configure the port. Click on edit, and in environment properties section here choose just type server underscore port and just give the port here 5000 and apply. So this will take a couple of seconds to deploy again. So once the health is okay, then you can just refresh this URL and you will see the application is successfully deployed on AWS Elastic Beanstalk. And here what I'm gonna do is I can just enter the endpoint URL, welcome, and hit finish. Yeah, here we go. We got a successful response of the REST API, like deploying Spring Boot REST API application on AWS using Elastic Beanstalk. Alright guys, we have successfully deployed our Spring Boot application on AWS using Elastic Beanstalk. Alright, let me recap the steps what we have done. We have created Spring Boot application and we have built a simple REST API, and then we have created a new application in Elastic Beanstalk, and we have uploaded our jar file in Elastic Beanstalk, and we have configured the port 5000. Alright, and after that we have successfully able to access our endpoint URL using this. Okay, alright guys, thanks for watching. In next video I will show you how to deploy Spring Boot web application on AWS using Elastic Beanstalk. So we're gonna use Tomcat server to deploy our web application. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.